Joining us now, of course, he's in his seventh season as head coach at Virginia Tech, coming to five straight NCAA tournament appearances. They're ranked in the top 15 in the country in most polls. They're 25-5 on the season, 5-1 in the ACC. I speak of Pete DeMore joining us here at In the Circle on D1 Softball. Coach, how you doing?
Good. Good to see you, Elo. Always good to see you.
Always good to catch up with you. What have you learned about your team now here? 30 games in. You just had of course, having your bye weekend here. What have you learned about your team 30 games in?
Yeah, I like where we are right now. We're athletic. We're swinging the bats well, like we usually do. Defense has been really stellar this year. I think we're third in the country in fielding percentage. Then it shows the athleticism that we have and a lot of options on the mound. So yeah, I like where we are right now.
Offensively, it started there. You mentioned your offense, 328 as a team, 55 home runs on the season, averaging around 7 runs a game. You've had great offenses there. I know it's only 30 games. There's a lot of softball to go, but this seems to be maybe right there is in the conversation for your best offense that you've had since you've been there. Is that accurate?
Yeah. I mean, obviously last year we hit the snot out of it, and we graduated roughly 40 home runs. So going into the season, did we think we're going to hit a lot of homers? Yeah. Did we think we're going to hit 115 like last year? We didn't know. But we're on track to have a good offensive year, and I've said it before. Just goes to show that yeah, we just develop hitters. We do the best that we can, and we put a good offensive product out usually every year.
What's the key to developing hitters like you do? Because you're right, you seem to reload every year offensively versus rebuild.
Yeah, I think the main part is what we focus on. We try to hit balls hard. I've kind of gotten away from a lot of mechanical talk. I just don't want our kids thinking about their bodies too much. And you design drills to get what you want out of the kids. What the movements that you want without them really having to think about it. And so it's tough for some kids that go to lessons once a week for 10 years, learning about their swing. And I'm not anti-mechanics or any of that, but it's okay. Well, we have 20 hours, and we have to do some defense. So to just sit there and break down swings, we don't do it a ton, but we can do it. It's just more, all right, let's do this drill, see if it works. And if it works for you, just keep doing it. And then, you kind of go not on autopilot, but if you can do the drill, your swing is okay.
Yeah, and you got a lot of players that've got good swings that are pretty okay, including like a Corey McMillan hitting 438, 13 homers, 28 RBIs to this point. What have you seen from Corey this year? Another stellar year.
Well, the first thing that sticks out is, and we've said this since she got here, she's got elite bat speed. And, if our average on our team we can hit is, low 60s on bat speed and she's upper 60s, that's a lot. That's an outlier. And so she's always had that. I think if you noticed her at bats this year, they're more under control. She's walking a lot. She's not swinging at anything really out of her zone unless she has two strikes, and just professional at bats this year. So yeah, she just another year in her program, and she's gotten better.
Of course, you got Michelle Chatfield's coming off ACC Player of the Week, D1 Softball National Player of the Week for the season, hitting 387, 9 homers, 29 RBIs. Bree Peck, usual solid 359, 8 homers, 38 RBIs. What do those two players mean to your team?
A lot. I mean, they're leaders in our program. Two kids that just stick with it, and they don't say a lot, but you know, they always work hard, and so you know what you're getting out of them every day in practice. They're going to work hard. They're going to do the drills, and they're just team first players. So yeah, they mean a lot to our program.
Has there been some players on your roster that have taken a next step, maybe from either a year ago, maybe from the fall, maybe some new faces that maybe has kind of certainly made an immediate impact, maybe quicker than you even anticipated? Who would stand out from that standpoint?
Yeah, there's a few. I think if you looked at our team this year, the current sophomores have taken a jump from last year. They've just been in our program for a year and know what's expected. Zoe Yeager's having a good year. Emily Legette's having a good year. Lila Blackwell. Um, you look at Ani Rose. I mean, Ani Rose is hitting 280. Went through a little bit of a lull. Started out really hot. I think she's back on track. She's playing as good an offensive or defensive shortstop as I've ever seen. Been around a long time, and she's making some plays that I'm like, I've never seen that one. And so, yeah, she's having a really good year. And you look at the freshmen, and I think two that stand out is first is Jordan Lynch. I mean, she's hitting 360 or whatever she is, handful of doubles, more than a handful, two handfuls of doubles. Good at bats, hits balls hard, good athlete. She's playing as well a third base as I've ever coached, and just she's like Brooks Robinson over there, just making plays and always in it. And Jaden Jones is having a good year too. She's you know, couple, a handful of home runs, hitting balls hard, getting on base with walks. Yeah, they're both having good years for us.
Love the Brooks Robinson reference there. Baltimore Oriole, great third baseman, Gold Glove winner there. You mentioned her defense there multiple times there. Is this is this the best defense you've had? You mentioned you're third in the country fielding percentage. I mean, where this defense is really solid for you here behind a good pitching staff.
Yeah, and I say this, and hopefully I don't jinx it. It's the best defense I've ever coached.
Wow.
And I'm talking Missouri, I'm talking Kennesaw, I'm talking here. I mean, it's just 983 fielding percentage and takes a lot of pressure off our pitchers. You don't have to be too fine. Let our defense work because they're going to make plays for you. So yeah, it's just when you go out there, you're going to pick the ball up and throw them out.
That's a high compliment. Wow, best.
I
That
don't give them
what?
out very often. I don't give them out.
No, you don't. What is it like? Was it like the pieces just fit? Like, what is it that has kind of gelled to this point? And did you know this maybe coming in the fall, or is this what is it that has fit so well defensively to this point?
Well, I think it's a lot of hard work. Coach Lewis does a good job with our defense, just harder practices and that kind of thing. But when you boil it down, I think it's all of our kids on defense can play multiple positions. Jordan Lynch is playing third. She could play center. She could play second. She caught for us in the fall, so she could play multiple positions. Ani can play the middle infield. She can play third base. Rachel has been a shortstop. She's playing at second. Michelle has played corner outfield, has caught for us, even pitched for us a little bit. I mean, you got Bree Peck that has played. She came in here as a shortstop, played third for a couple of years. Now she's one of the best center fielders defensively in the country. So I think it's the athleticism and playing multiple positions, being able to do that just gives them a comfortability of playing in multiple spots.
How much of versatility and athleticism do you look into as when you recruit?
Yeah, it's a big deal now, and so you go and you recruit kids. You have to be able to swing the bat, obviously, to get in the lineup, but you also have to play a position, and that's the thing is okay, I'm going to recruit a hitter, and she doesn't play a position. Well, you automatically go into the DP slot, DP slot. Sorry, it's early, and so when you have a team that can hit like ours, and you're a DP, I mean, there might be five of them. You just don't know. So you got to kind of play the hot hand when it's dealt, and that can be tough for kids. But if you can play a position, you get more chances. And so I think going into the recruiting cycle, you look hitters, but can they play defense too? And if they can, then you have multiple options with those kids.
Pitching staff's been, of course, led by Emma Lemley. He's having an incredible year, 11-3 on the year, 1.97 ERA, four no hitters to this point. What have you seen from her this year? It seems like she's taken it to even a higher level this year.
Yeah, she's locked in. She wants to win, and I was just talking with Josh a couple minutes ago. She has locked in bullpens, so when she goes down to the bullpen, the pitchers are somewhat secluded from the rest of the team sometimes when they do go in their bullpens, and it can be kind of a not lackadaisical, but it's more loose, because you're with five kids and you're all throwing and but when Lemley gets on the rubber during her bullpens, it's business time. She's working on getting better, and that's the thing with seniors is are they going to rest on their laurels coming into their senior year and say I'm already good, or no, I'm not done getting better yet? And I think that's where Lem is right now.
Yeah, having an incredible year. And then you've got the other Emma Mazzaroni, 6-2 on the season there. What Talk about her a little bit and her contributions because I think she's kind of the one under the radar that maybe has snuck up on people this year.
Yeah, she's under the radar. I mean, last night she hit 73 quite a few times. She's left-handed. She sits, 70, 71 usually. And the thing with her is when she sits 68, 69, that's when she throws her best, and so she's got lightning in her left arm. And so sometimes she's a little off the zone, which is okay because, you got a kid that's left-handed throwing 73 miles an hour and you can't get comfortable in the box. You can't. And one of the coaches told me a few weeks ago, I mean, it's hard to hit her because we just can't get comfortable in the box. And so, yeah, she is under the radar. I mean, most of our kids are, so she just does her thing and works hard and, throws bullets.
73? Did you just say
Yeah.
73?
Yeah. She's
Wow.
73 quite a few times this year.
Is she the hardest thrower you've had?
Probably in my life. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, we had a few 70s at Missouri, and a couple 70s here, but 73 is different.
How did you find her?
I think she came to camp. I think she came to camp and she's a hitter, and she came in here as a hitter and she's left-handed. She got 4 bombs this year and limited at bats. And we recruited her and Maz are going to hit, and she goes, "Well, I pitch a little bit too." And she went out to PGF, and I was at Alliance, and Mike was at PGF, and Mike called me, and we don't really talk a lot on the recruiting trail. We text a lot, but he called me and he goes, "It's Friday night. It's under the lights. There's two known poachers in the college scene that are here watching this game, and Maz has not thrown a pitch under 68 miles an hour." And I said, "Oh." So I called her the next day and I said, "I got you as a hitter, but you're a pitcher now, and we're gonna pay you accordingly." So yeah, it was just funny how it happened because you see how she pitches, and she's in her mind, she's a hitter. So you kind of have to balance that, and we tried to do that last night, and because she wants to hit, and I understand that, and there's when pitchers hit, there's kind of a trade-off there. You don't want kids getting hurt, but at the same time, she wants to be a hitter. So yeah, just a good athlete, works hard, country kid, and we're thankful to have her.
How do you balance that? You mentioned that she has power as a hitter. She can hit for pop, but at the same time, her value is with her arm. So how do you
Yeah,
balance that as a staff?
I think it's just the communication with her. She came in the other day and said, "How do I get more at bats?" And I said, "Well, be ready when your time is called, but you have to know that you're very valuable to us as a pitcher." And so, and I say this to kids when they come in here, pitchers that hit, it's not just one practice that you come to. I mean, if you're in the bullpen and we need you to pitch, you're going to have 2 practices a day. So those kids have to have time management. They have to because, um, you don't go to your bullpen, but you don't hit. Well, you're losing out on reps, because typically we're hitting when the pitchers are pitching. So it's a lot of communication with Josh, get our bullpen done before we take BP, stuff like that. But I think you just have to be, communicate with them.
You also have Sophie, and I know you got Cassie there who threw against Longwood there in that doubleheader sweep. So you got 4 arms overall. How does Sophie and Cassie complement the two Emmas?
Yeah, hey, well, Sophie, she's been a really good addition for our program. Just an even keel kid, always has a smile on her face, and she's intimidating. She's close to 6 foot tall and throwing, close to 70. And sometimes she's 71. And but it's a heavy drop ball and a good change up and a little bit of a rise. But you get out there and man, she's just an intimidating pitcher out there, and feels like the ball's right on you because she is 6 foot tall and fills up the strike zone, gets a lot of ground balls, lets our defense work. Just been a good addition for us. And Cassie's throwing well. She just hasn't had many opportunities. She was 65, 66 yesterday, plus changeup. And I've always said that about her is she has the best changeup on our team. So they all bring something a little bit different to the table.
Of course, as a staff, Are you where you want to be from a pitching staff standpoint? Sounds you got a lot of variety there. You got a lot of heart. Are you where you at, or you think there's another level to this pitching staff?
No, there's another level. I think that sometimes our pitchers try to do too much because they are talented, and you try to hunt the strikes or hunt the strikeout a lot, and you get too fine. And I said this a couple weeks ago to our pitchers. Our defense is really good. Let it work for you. Let it work for you. Just make good pitches. If they hit it, so what? If it's a single, so what? Just get back in the fight and just keep filling up the strike zone.
As we tape this, of course, you're getting ready to host Stanford, big ACC series coming up in Blacksburg, and that is a storyline this year. Stanford and Cal now in the ACC. It's reality. They're here. The ACC is benefiting. They're the number 2 conference according to the RPI. As we talk right there, kind of your thoughts now on the ACC. We've talked about this realignment for a couple of years. It's reality now. Now that you've seen it on the field, what jumps out to you?
Well, our conference is really deep. It's really, really deep. And I was thinking about that this morning. We come into the conference in the ACC, and historically, it's been a really good baseball conference. It's been a really good baseball conference, and we've always thought, when baseball is the second best league in the country, arguably, close to being first, softball should be that way too. And bringing those two teams in, and they've obviously got a lot of tradition and they win and they're good. It just elevates everybody else. And so, you got Clemson, you got Duke, you got improved North Carolina, you got Louisville, you got Virginia. Our league is really good this year. And, it just speaks to the administration and all of the administrations and taking softball serious. And it's no longer, well, let's circle this weekend, and that's a little bit of a breather. You don't have that anymore. Anybody can beat anybody, so it just keeps you on your game.
Yeah, I think there's like 9 teams in the top 50 RPI. Like it's unbelievable. Like I think the ACC's on track potentially to have its most bids in softball in the history of the conference. At the rate if everybody continues to do what they're doing on there, and to your point, it's starting to look a little bit like college baseball, where the map is kind of showing a lot of SEC, ACC kind of flavor there, from a geography possibilities of rankings and hosting and all that. So what has that been a message among you all as coaches within the league about getting that level of to that next level from the ACC standpoint?
Yeah, we've talked about it. Let's just raise our RPI, better non-con scheduling. Yeah, let's just make the league as good as it can be, and I think we're doing that. It's a gauntlet now.
When you have new members like at Cal Stafford, is that a different, unique challenge from a scouting standpoint? Because you don't play them every year normally. This will be the first time you've played them, in the regular season, or is it not a big deal at all? It's just you treat them like you treat maybe a non-conference team normally, and then because I know some coaches say one of the unique things about conferences is tendencies of certain teams because you play them every year. This is
Sure.
not the case there, but is it a big deal or no deal?
Not as big of a deal as you'd think. I think the biggest deal for us is the time change, and it's probably for them too. They got to come out here more than we got to go out there, and I don't care who you are, it takes a toll on you. We went out to UCLA for regionals last year. Their girls are tired. I mean, you're playing at 9 o'clock at night, which is midnight our time, I think. And just to get adjusted to the time change is the big deal. But as far as scouting goes, we got synergy, we got film, we got all that stuff. We'll see tendencies. We'll see. We'll be able to scout their hitters and pitchers. So that's not as big of a deal as it might have been 15 years ago when you didn't have any of that. So it's it's not as big of a hindrance as you think.
On years that you got to go out west to play them, how much does that impact your scheduling at all, if at all? Because I know you like to play anywhere, anytime. Another tough non-conference schedule this year, but there is a travel aspect to that when you go out there. So how much does that impact your scheduling overall when you do on those years?
Yeah, a lot. It does a lot. We at the end of the year, we actually go out to Cal, and then we come back, and the following weekend we play Florida State. And so we go out to Cal. Uh, Hopefully, we go out Wednesday night, get acclimated Thursday. And the original plan was red eye on Monday. And I said, no, you can't do that because you got 2 or 3 days where your body has to get adjusted back to East Coast time. So we're not going to have a midweek between Cal and Florida State. Hopefully get back late Sunday night. So it's like a early season tournament. We'll probably get home at 1 o'clock in the morning, something like that, go to class. But Mondays will be off, and hopefully by Tuesday you're back and ready to roll and getting ready for the next series. So, but there is, you think about that, and had we taken a red eye on Monday and then you play on Wednesday, that's a long week for you. So it does come into play for us.
That's an interesting, great point you just made there, because I've heard from in the other sports, excuse me, from the other sports, especially in basketball, coaches have talked about this in the realignment with the ACC, that it's not the actual trip up there that affects you; it's the game coming back. And there's been some trends that teams in basketball, for example, have not done well on that first game back from the West Coast trip. That they come out flat, maybe energy, etc. So that's interesting you bring up about not playing that midweek game. Did you have any conversations with other coaches in other sports, or just was that something you just from a gut feeling you're like, nah, that we need more recovery time? Because I've heard basketball coaches in particular make that comment that that's one thing they've learned is that first game back, and in basketball usually you have to come back and play 2-3 days later on the schedule. That is they've sensed the impact there more so than going there.
No, no, I haven't really talked too much about to other coaches about it. It's more of a experience thing from my end. And the thing the challenge when you go out to the West Coast is kids want to zero in on the clock. And what time is it? And so you have a curfew at 9 o'clock. That's midnight in our body time. And so don't think about the clock. We're going to go to bed at 7:30, which is 10:30 our time. Now, what 7:30? I'm going to go out and go out to dinner with my parents. This and that. I understand that, but we do it before because you're just going to get tired. And I've just done it so long that when you go out to the West Coast, you get infatuated with the clock, and it's hard for me too. I used to go out recruiting on the West Coast quite a bit, and you're going out to dinner with somebody at 10 o'clock at night, and it's 1 o'clock in your body time. So I'm eating my spaghetti and I got my face in in the meal. I'm falling asleep and just experience, and hopefully we'll take care of that when we go out there.
I mentioned you've played another tough non-conference schedule this season, so clearly adding the teams to the ACC did not sway you to say, maybe I'll go a little easier in the non-conference. You're still going full speed ahead there from your challenging schedule. You went to LSU, you went to Alabama, you beat Alabama. It goes on and on. So that's still going to continue. That will not be impacted by the realignment here with the new look ACC. I would
No,
on your
no,
philosophy.
and Elo, our schedule kind of depends on historically who we miss out on in conference. So this year we don't play Duke, we don't play Clemson, Georgia Tech, and there's one other team I can't remember, maybe North Carolina, and those are all good RPI games for us that we're missing in conference. So where do you make those up? Non-con, and then that's just what we thought about this year. Moving forward with our league being so strong, maybe you don't schedule as tough. Now I think we're getting into scheduling for 26, and it's gonna be a couple weekends that are the gauntlet. But maybe some weekends we're just gonna go play, and so we'll see. But that's the thing. If you're trying to host regionals and supers, you got to play good teams. It doesn't hurt you to get on the field with LSU. You're always going to win. If you lose, it's not going to crush you. So what's the downside of it? Now, of course, you got to be 500. But if you're trying to host regionals and supers, you should be competitive with those teams anyway. That's the way I look at it. So if you don't play those teams, and we kind of got into that my first year, and we had a really good year, and the non-conference schedule wasn't as tough as maybe it is now. It was a hard schedule, and the RPI comes out, and we won a bunch of games. We won 43 games or whatever it was going into to regionals, and we were like 25th in RPI. So if you
Yeah.
schedule a little harder and you lose some of those games, you're still 25th. So, but if you win those, I mean, now you're maybe top 15. So it's just there's a science to it. It's just, who do you play in conference? Who do you play out of conference? It's just the way it goes.
No, that's a very good point there. So I didn't realize that. How far, and you don't have to share details, but how far in advance do you get the ACC schedule so that it allows you to then schedule accordingly how you would want from a non-conference standpoint to balance
Yeah,
it
it's
out? Because for those that
usually
don't know, the ACC is an imbalanced schedule.
yeah, it's usually November-ish.
Okay.
November-ish, and so we're really whittling down around January. There was still a weekend or two that we're trying to figure out for next year. We got a couple weekends set. But yeah, it's usually November, December.
Conference championships will be in Boston College this year as the host. What's has there been any conversations from a conference championship standpoint how it'll look like from as far as the size of it? Maybe locale would it continue to be on sites? I know there's been some talk of neutral sites. Certainly, the ACC baseball you mentioned they do it in minor league parks. I know that's there's certainly what has there been any conversations among the league about that?
No, not a lot. I think we're still going to rotate sites. I think we're going to add a couple teams. I'm not so sure. I'm not sure. You know how I am. Just tell me where to go. I'm kind of a fly on the wall in the head coaches meetings. I don't say a lot, but I'm listening to everything. But yeah, I've heard there's other conferences thinking about a neutral site. Uh, I see the cons and the pros of both. I think when you do host, there's certain additions to your field that you might get. I think, and I don't know why if this is the case or not. We played at Duke last year for the conference tournament, and they got a new scoreboard. I don't know if that was in the works or not. They deserved it, but you just don't know. I mean, I think that was the thought process was if you get to host, then we want to be look nice on TV. Here's some extra features for you, but um, I don't know. I don't see the neutral site coming anytime soon. I could be wrong. I don't know, but I'm not a power that be.
No, I have heard a lot of coaches say that they're against neutral sites for the reason you just said. Very, they want to host it, which is exposure from a linear television standpoint, even streaming standpoint. But to that point, I don't want to say leverage is the wrong word, but it certainly puts emphasis on perhaps renovations, like you mentioned, Duke getting a scoreboard and things like that. That has happened many a time. So if it stays on the current track of school sites, hopefully then you get to host. I mean, that'd be kind of fun. Go to
Yeah,
Plattsburgh.
I don't know where we are in the rotation. I haven't hosted since I've been here. We haven't, so I think it's coming. Maybe the next 5 years, if I last that long.
I think you're doing all right. You're doing okay there, for sure. Has there been any aspect of this team that has surprised you?
Not really. You just don't know when you have freshmen that come in, and we lost a really good tight leadership group in our seniors last year. Green, Ritter, Fagan, and Luco, they were kind of the leaders of our team. Had a lot of leaders, but they were the ones that kind of passed the torch down. And so we have a great senior class this year, and there's an unknown when you have new seniors what it's going to look like as far as team dynamics. And our team has arguably been one of the closest teams we've ever had off the field. We get along. There's no drama. Um, they're just fun kids to be around, and I think that reflects itself when we play. And so, because if there's a divide on your team, we had this at Missouri one year. There's a divide on your team. You're not going to play as well, and that's every team, every sport. You don't like her, she don't like you. You're not going to want to play for each other. And I think we've done a really good job this year. Our seniors have of and really everybody. I mean, we've got leaders that are freshmen, sophomores, juniors, but the senior class is really, we want to go out on this note, and this is what we need to do at Virginia Tech, and they've really passed down the torch to the rest of the kids.
So the leadership picked up. It was kind of passed along. It sounds like.
Yeah, and the cool thing about our program, Elo, is it happens like that every year, and it'll be the same next year. It just they take a lot of pride in putting the jersey on and the way we play and the standards that we have, and they just pass it down, and that has started from Nolan Strouth, you know. The first year seniors that we had, they were like, "This is what we're going to do now," and this is how we're passing it down.
My last question. I was getting ready. Big series again. Stanford, Virginia Tech's will be the marquee series in the ACC. What are beyond just that weekend, just moving forward the rest of the way? What are a couple keys to this team that you either want to see improvement on or keep doing well? What are a couple keys here moving forward you want to see from your team that could be the difference here, this really the second half of the year?
Well, I think a mantra of us this year of our team is just be a dog. Just get in the fight. You're going to fail. So what? Get back in the fight. And I've said this a while, and I might have said it to you, is we don't care who we're playing. We don't care if it's Timbuktu University or Oklahoma. We're going to prepare the same way and hopefully, just be a dog. Does not matter what the other team is doing or what they're planning on. Stick with what we do and see, just go do it. And that's one of the things I ask the players after the games is the effort that you give worthy of the standard of our program? Is that what it is? And if not, that's okay. And did you accept failure and move on? If not, that's okay. Just do better next time. And that's kind of what we do here. And so we're going to have about 10 days off, which could scare a lot of coaches. I'm kind of excited about it so we can get refreshed, recharged. It's almost like a new season for us. And so we're going against a really good Stanford team next week. I got a lot of respect for Coach Allister. She's done well everywhere she's gone. They'll be ready for us. And like I said, if we hold the standard and come out like we're supposed to, we'll be okay.
It'll be a fun atmosphere in Blacksburg, Stanford, Virginia Tech. Pete DeMore joining us here. Coach, always a pleasure to catch up with you. I think, yeah, we've done this just about every year now since you've been there. It's always a
Yeah,
blast to catch up with you, especially as you balance, obviously, coaching and then being a dad, which I know occupies a lot of mornings. So I always appreciate you taking time to talk to us. Thanks for coming on.
you got it, buddy. Thanks for having me.